Welcome back. Welcome back. Slim is getting buckets like Scoot Henderson. We are talking about the Blazers today. We just uploaded the Hornets video. So if you are also a Hornets fan or interested in Brandon Miller and seeing
Check
all
it
what we
out.
said about that, check that video out. We have the Suns, Bradley Beal up. Check that out. Like it all. Please subscribe. Trying to grow the channel. And if this came up on your feed, I appreciate Google or YouTube for doing it for us. But let's get into the Scoot Henderson drafting, what this means for the Blazers, what it means for their future, all that kind of stuff. I love the pick. I said that he was going to go 3 to the Blazers. I just thought the Hornets would draft for fit rather than best player available. I do feel like Brandon Miller and Scoot are a similar tier. I'd probably give the edge to Scoot. But I think in order for the Blazers to be really successful, I feel like they have to do a little something where they have to either trade Dame, Anthony, or Scoot. They're all way too talented to not play significant minutes and have a major role. And one of them would be forced to come off the bench because Anthony's a little taller. Scoot's and Dame are only 6'2". Scoot's big, but he's not going to be able to guard a 6'8" wing. So I think you have to trade one of them. I think if I'm a Blazers fan, I'm really, really happy right now because you have a best case scenario. If Dame wants to leave and you trade him, you have your point guard of the future in Scoot. And if he wants to stay, you can trade Anthony and then you still have your point guard. I think Scoot is going to be really, 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 really good. But what is your initial reaction? Because you did have him going 2 to the Hornets.
Yeah. Um, I thought Brandon Miller would have a better fit being,
For sure.
being the type player that he is, taller. I think that would have fit perfect with Portland, but Charlotte ended up drafting him. But I think Scoot would be a great fit too. I think if Dame doesn't want to go anywhere, you should put a pause on everything it is that you're doing to even entertain the media talking about trading him. I think that everybody should sit back. Dame said the other day, I'm not really interested in leaving. So I say, take a step back. I think that you can, build off of something by having the players that you do have that are so good. Damian Lillard, Anthony Simons, you got Shaden Sharp, you got plenty of Cam Reddish. I think Cam Reddish comes back with full confidence and full intention to get buckets. And I think that he can start in the place of a Jeremy Grant or Josh Hart if you decided to move Jeremy Grant during this
Well, Josh
offseason.
Hart's on the Knicks, duh.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Like fill those minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that the only thing that they're missing is maybe like a more solid big. I think Nurkic spent some time, kind of injured or whatever the case may be. But I think they got a decent squad, and if they really try with this young core, I think Cam Reddish would be the X factor that really, took them to the next spot. And I think Scoot could be the leader coming from their bench squad. I think you start Dame, you start Anthony Simons, start Cam Reddish, and then coming from the bench, they just drafted Chris Murray also at number 23, if I'm not mistaken. And I think
Correct. Or
Scoot
22
paired with
maybe, but yeah.
Murray, yeah, Scoot partnered up with Chris Murray coming from the bench, providing that scoring, providing that Scoot can facilitate. Um, I think that a fire bench going. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think there's two really avenues the Blazers can go. I think the first one is obviously you can trade Dame and you can build around this young core that you've decided to build, that you've built up between Scoot, Anthony, Shaden Sharp, Cam Reddish, Jeremy Grant. All are very young players that are going to be really, really good eventually, I think. And I think that's one option. If I'm the GM, I'd probably lean that way. I know Blazers fans obviously don't want to get rid of Dame, but I also know some Blazers fans are like, we're not ready to compete. We do the same story where we think we're going to be good and we're not. And I think you don't want to go through that again. And if you can get, say, 5, 6 first round picks for Dame, I would do it personally. It depends on what the compensation is. But you can go that avenue be around the same level of team you were this past season, and you can build for the future and do what we talked about when all the other young teams that we were talking about. I do think they're a step ahead. I think they have a more well-rounded roster with better players on it. So I don't think it'll take them as long to quote unquote rebuild post Dame because they have the players on the team. But I think the second option is you can keep everyone as is, see what you do, and it's up to the coach to make adjustments to make it work. I'm a big component of drafting best available. Obviously, the fit with Scoot is right away not the best imaginable because you have 3 ball dominant guards on the team. But if you're going to go that route, you have to, as a coach, make it work. And I think that's what's up to Chauncey Billups, if I'm not mistaken. And I think for them to be successful in that, one of them is going to have to move to the bench. It's obviously not going to be Dame, and Anthony would probably not be very happy about it, and then that can spark something down the road where he wants to be traded. But all that aside, I think one of them would have to go to the bench, and if it's a possible 6-man of the year kind of thing, any three of them are going to be supremely talented, and I think if you can go and make that work where all 3 of them can get significant minutes and have a real impact, I think the Blazers do have a chance to be really, really good. But it just depends on how the coach, one, goes and makes the adjustments to make it all work, and 2, are you going to trade Dame? That's the second. That's kind of the other thing. Or are you going to trade someone else like Anthony Simons? It's a good position if you're the Blazers to be in my opinion. You either can get a ton of compensation for your best player, or you can try and figure it out and have too many good players in one position, and you have to make it work. It's a not a bad position. I'm excited to see what they do. One of my good friends is a Blazers fan, so he was pretty stoked about getting Scoot, and you have a backup plan if Dame wants to leave, and I think that's what's really important. But what are your expectations for the following season?
Um, I think we're crossing into that threshold where any team such as an eighth seed can make it to the finals. I think that all of these cats have potential. It just comes down to coaching, and it comes down to heart and competition. I think that it comes down to mental fortitude, and these players have to be strong. I think that these players have to be determined, and that's one thing that I do give to the Portland Trailblazers is their determination, not only as an organization to continue to, put their faith in a player like Damian Lillard, but also Dame giving them that reciprocation of energy, saying that, hey, like, I want to be dedicated to y'all and really try to get a championship, because who's to say that I leave and then go somewhere else, but I end up not winning when I could have stuck this out, stayed patient, stayed on the grind, and trust that y'all can put what I need around me. And I think that he has that a young sparky guard that he can push the floor with and really take over with. And Anthony Simons, I think that you have a scary 3 guard wing who can score the ball like Paul George and slice through the defense and play pretty deep, pretty nice defense in Cam Reddish. I think that if you allow Scoot to play that 6-man, if he is that good enough, and let's say that he is that good enough, allow him to run the offense coming from the bench in order to keep that same flow, high speed flow that Dame is going to kick it to Anthony Simons, and Anthony Simons can take off. You got the spark shooting from perimeter, and maybe we can get that in Chris Murray, how we saw in his brother Keegan Murray for the Sacramento Kings. I think that Portland, because of the energy around the organization and around the team, is determination and loyalty. I think that if they take the time out to see if the roster works, then you can make changes during the midseason, if Dame does decide to go somewhere, or if you are willing to let go of Anthony Simons. But I think that if you give Cam Reddish the chance, and maybe even you hold on to Jeremy Grant, just because he's going to show consistency from a big that is one of the best of his position in the league. I think that they have an opportunity to make it to the sixth round or the sixth seed, and we'll see what happens, during the playoffs. Let's say Portland runs into a Sacramento, that would be a tough
That'd be a
series.
great series. That'd be a
Both
great series.
squads healthy, you know what I'm saying? I think it could be dope.
Yeah, I think based on all the teams we've talked about, we're talking about all top five draft teams, but I think they definitely have the highest ceiling out of all of them. The Blazers do this weird thing where they're like either really good and like get to like the conference finals, or they just don't even like make the playoffs, and
Yeah.
it's kind of a weird thing. I think a 6 seed would be a good season for them, and I think if they can, I think the West is pretty wide open, um, and I think there's definitely better teams, but I think they could go and make a run. I don't know if they'll get to the finals. I don't think they're that good, but I think it'd be interesting to see if they can upset a couple teams, and or are we going to go back to the same old thing where they're the 11 seed and it's just the Blazers and that's what you expect. It's a weird thing. It's hard. They're a tough team to predict.
I'll say if you take this lineup and y'all communicate with with the pod, we're pro people, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Maddie,
Yeah.
the one, the only. If you had the opportunity to take this upcoming season's Portland Trailblazers as we see it right now, Dame, Anthony Simons, Jeremy Grant, Cam Reddish, Nurkic, Scoot Henderson, Chris Murray, we take all these cats and then put them against the Miami Heat that we just saw lost in the finals. Me personally, I think Portland wins.
It's tough to say because I was always very low on Miami. Did not think they were good this entire season going into it, and I'm still kind of shocked they made it to the finals. But I can't say that they would beat them. I think it'd be close. I think it'd probably be similar to what we saw in the Knicks series, Heat in 6. Um, but it's interesting because you really don't know anything about like because there's so many talented teams and sometimes they just are really good and sometimes they're just not, and the Heat aren't the most talented team, but they just have that will that every other team really just doesn't really have like that. And I think I would probably lean Miami just because they did make it to the finals, but I do think it'd be closer than a lot of people would probably say. I think I'm more in the camp of that it'd be closer and not just like, oh, what are you talking about? But I don't think that's the craziest thing. But I'm excited to see what they do. I just want really good basketball, and I think this team will be fun to watch. I think it'll be highlight central, Dame shooting logo threes, Scoot flying through the lane and dunking. It'll be interesting. If you're a Blazers fan, Shaden Sharp for sure. Those lobs would be sick. I think if you're a Blazers fan, you got to be happy with Scoot. I think you got to be happy with Chris Murray, and I think for the future, it looks bright with Dame, without Dame. Either way, I think you're in a good spot. And if you made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, share this video, show it to all your boys, and yeah, that's a wrap. See you
And
guys next time, and peace.